All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tangled Rikes. What's the episode number?
Episode 23.
Whoa.
Jordan. Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Oh, because that was his number. I get it.
Yeah.
This is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, consult an attorney in whatever area of the law it is that you're after. Scam likely. Not answering that.
The very first thing I want to do is defend myself a little bit.
Hold on.
What?
I want to say not legal advice. However, if you need legal advice in the state of Kansas or Nevada, in the areas that I practice in, and some of them that I don't, call me and I'll help you. And so will Shane. We're super good at that.
Website's in the description.
Website under the description. It has a link to where you can send us requests for information, stuff like that. Please follow and like and subscribe our socials because it helps Austin's ego.
An update.
Updates.
Many updates. I'm going to defend myself for wearing an orange suit in court because a lot of people have said that's ridiculous.
And then I'm going to defend you after you defend yourself.
Not a lot of people, but I've heard from some folks, oh, you wore that to court? There are levels, okay? And let's just say I wore this to Justice Court, Las Vegas Justice Court, which is the lowest level seriousness court. If you go there, it's serious, but it's just like how people are dressed in there normally.
So what you're talking about is like the decorum or what's considered permissible.
Yes. You should see the kind of most males are in t-shirts appearing on behalf of themselves.
Yep.
A lot of attorneys that don't wear suit coats or they wear colorful suits or the dress is just not.
But I think part of people's flavor comes from that. Like, look at Marchese and Gillum. You would never think, oh, can you wear a kind of bright suit with Jordans that match? It's not going to look great. Jess is also a monster. He used to be even bigger, supposedly, because he was into bodybuilding, but he's a big, ripped, buff dude, and he just looks great in his suits. They're all form-fitted, and he's got these sweet Jordans on that he probably polished that morning. It's like, I can't even get mad at it.
Well, and I'm just trying to defend myself. It fits in. There are some women there who are maybe brought in for prostitution charges that look like they were brought in for prostitution charges, and they're dressed and showing some body.
And this is the last episode of Tangled Rights. Thanks, guys.
I'm just saying they're there, and some are wearing very skin tight bodysuits.
Let me translate for Shane into a judgment-free answer.
I don't think I look that bad in that orange suit compared to
the number one thing is that this was an actual suit. The only thing that was wrong with it was the color. Otherwise, that was legit formal wear.
It looked okay, except for the frilly shirt that you
That's literally just a style point. Who cares?
And the top hat was a little much.
No,
And the king.
you go to a different point in history, and that's high fashion.
So
The point being, it's still formal wear. It might be the color's absurd, and there might be a couple of eccentricities with the accessories. But other than that, guys, calm down. It was for a joke. It's not like we did it at jury trial. Okay.
No.
The judge, the only judge we actually got to appear in front of that morning, loved it. He thought it was hilarious. He understood the joke, and he complimented Shane on being a man of his word.
Let me tell you, I went into court today, and I was in DUI court, and that's like just a ton of attorneys. Somebody sat next to me. I didn't know him, and he said, "Dude, your suit was so funny last week." And I was like,
everybody loved it. It was
"Oh,
great.
I don't." And he said, "The judge," he said, Freeman went into another courtroom and he was telling another judge about how funny it was.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey,
if anything, now our level increased, and those who hate, your level decreased.
It did not hurt our clients in this sense. There are instances where this joke would have gone too far,
and oddly enough, we had a client in there for a status check on closing a case, which was closed. Got that case reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor. I guess we're not that bad at our jobs. And he happened to be wearing an orange polo.
we should have taken a picture.
We should have, because I had my orange Syracuse shirt on. You had that suit on, and he had his orange polo on. Austin, what did you do?
I just adjusted the camera.
Okay.
It's fine. We're still recording.
Okay. If you mess anything up,
Still recording.
you know the consequences.
I'm working on all my segues. So my segue for the next thing is Justice Court is like the lowest level of seriousness. District Court is kind of medium serious. I don't know.
District Court's real serious. I'm going to disagree with your assessment.
Well, hang on a second.
Shane's new to criminal law.
I would have never done this in federal court. That's like so serious. When you go in there, there's like an air of importance. I I would not have even dreamed if Justin had, made this the bet to wear it to federal court.
Oh, for sure.
I
No,
would have
wouldn't
said,
do that.
no way.
So I feel like in justice court, we could also get away with it unless it was something like a trial. Obviously, they would be very upset with us at that. But if it's just a normal status check where it doesn't matter, I don't think anyone's going to care in any state court.
No.
But to his point, I misunderstood what he was saying. But yes, as far as the level of seriousness or the way that they take themselves, muni court or justice court is a little bit lower. But federal court is certainly one where this would never be allowed. I don't think they'd throw you in jail, but they'd make you leave. And then they'd be like, okay, well, he didn't show up.
And then speaking on federal court, we're going to revisit a federal court case that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
I love federal court.
You love my segues.
They're so good.
This is about Michelle Fiore. She was found guilty
Quilty.
of taking money that was intended to go for a fallen officer. And I realized which fallen officer it was. There was a pair that was shot inside of CC's Pizza on the east side of Nellis.
Not shot. Those dudes got executed, didn't they?
They basically got executed. I was working over on this side of town when it all happened. And then they went into the Walmart and kind of held up the Walmart afterwards too.
How'd that work out for them?
They are no longer with us. I think the cops took care of both. It was like a boyfriend-girlfriend situation.
It's like Bonnie and Clyde?
Kind of like a dopers, just they seem to be
So they
flying
obviously
high on meth.
engaged with the police and didn't obey lawful commands and ended up putting the police in a situation where they had to use lethal force is what you were getting at, right?
I'm pretty sure
that's what you meant.
That's my memory of it. I was working on the east side when this happened, and so I remember what?
Nothing. Keep going.
What did I call it? They got?
No, you said the cops took care of them. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, dude.
Well,
we're criminal defense attorneys.
Hey,
Shane Salad today has put him in a mood.
So it was about one of the fallen officers that got shot in the CC's Pizza. She was supposed to have a statue built in his honor and took that money, spent it on...
And a jury of her peers determined that she did not use the funds appropriately.
Yes.
Because obviously we weren't there and we don't know enough about the case, but she was judged by a jury too.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
For the evidence that was presented. And now she's pending sentencing, but she has fired her trial attorney. So she's going to be appointed a public defender for sentencing.
She fired him.
Yes.
He's actually like a good attorney.
I saw him today in court as well. Yes. A decent attorney. I think he did the best he could with the information that he had.
And that's actually my favorite part about criminal defense is like, so they hear something like that, with the kid with the orange polo, right? Oh, you had an assault with a deadly weapon where he pointed an AR-15 at somebody on camera and you got that dropped down to a misdemeanor assault. You can get my case dismissed for sure. I didn't have an AR-15. No, that's not how this always works. And so it sucks because there's sometimes because I'm sure Sampt has gotten not guilty verdicts on cases where you think he was going to lose, whatever, because he's a clever attorney. He's been doing it a long time. So it's really funny when people get, well, screw him. My trial attorney obviously dropped the ball. It had nothing to do with me.
And
or the facts.
The funniest part of this is I told you about Michelle Fiore. She's a big Trumper. Her sentencing is going to be on January 6th of 2025. Which is
I don't understand.
After the election.
What's the significance of that?
Nothing.
Oh, that's Inauguration Day, right?
Yeah.
Or no, wait, the 20th is Inauguration. Is that right?
It's usually around the 20th, yeah. I'm not exactly sure.
This is a good day for the MAGA people.
Oh, the 6th. Yeah, right. That was the day that those idiots.
Just stop talking about it.
All right. Yeah, we're not allowed.
It's funny though.
It is funny. It's
coincidental.
Ironical is what they'd call it.
I don't know who sets the date, whether it's the judge, but the judge was an Obama appointee, Jennifer Dorsey. So.
There's no way that was intentional. It's got to work just like the docketing and district court.
It's a regular schedule about, I mean, it's about, it's 6 weeks, 7 weeks out, which is about normal time frame for sentencing.
When they're in custody. When it's an out of custody sentencing, it can be 2-3 months, which would make sense if she just got found guilty.
So...
But also, I mean, the feds are going to have their own system, but I almost guarantee you, if you looked at when she was found guilty, when they set sentencing, and then looked at the very last case where someone was found guilty and they set sentencing on an out of custody sentencing, it's going to be the same amount of time. I would almost imagine.
I hope so.
It'd be actually, so the troll in me wants it to be like, "Brr, getting this Trumper on the 6th, whatever. But it's probably not that nefarious. It's probably more like, it just shook out that way. And sometimes the universe has a great sense of irony.
She shouldn't have taken that money and used it for other purposes.
She should not have been judged by a guilty of her peers, or a guilty of a jury of her peers of doing something like that. That's true. That's bad.
So
Don't steal money from a fallen officer or any fallen person. Not a good look.
and now she's low income where she can have a public defender.
Is she? So other than being a politician, what was her job?
She was a judge, remember, in Nye County.
Before that,
I don't know what her real job is. Do politicians have real jobs, or do they just suck
So-
on the government teat?
there are some of them, like our current president, who when he finished law school, he went straight into politics. So I would say, like, I'm sure he had jobs when he was a kid, when he was growing up in the coal mines or whatever it was that he talks about doing. Or he said something like that, or is it
I don't
Pennsylvania?
remember.
I can't remember. He grew up in Pennsylvania.
He's never a lawyer?
No, he graduated. I don't know if he took the bar. I just know he never practiced as a lawyer, I don't believe, and went straight into politics. He's been in politics for like 50 years. So some people do that.
long time.
I don't know about all of them. Segue from that, Shane.
So we're going to talk about competency again.
Perfect segue because of our president. And he's corn pop, my legs, and the hairs.
We're returning to competency because we had a recent story here in Las Vegas. Very awful story. 2 teenagers were driving around like idiots.
16 and 17, right?
They were on a string of burglaries. They had hit somebody with their car that was on a bicycle.
Stolen car,
Hit somebody on a bicycle. That person survived, and they also hit another man on their car, ran him over, and
He was
killed
in
him.
his 70s.
And he was a former police officer as well.
I thought he was police chief. He was a retired police chief is what it was.
Police chief, yeah.
I mean, yes, that's an officer. I'm sorry.
Sure.
The only reason I remember that one, there's two things that happened when all that came out. Those 2 kids who are not bright took a video of running that dude over and laughed about it.
Yes.
And a buddy of mine, because it came out, and at the time, when you're a lawyer, they're like, "Oh, have you seen anything about this?" It's like, "No, what do you mean?" And he shows me the video, and he's like, "Dude, I walk my kids around that area."
Yeah.
And it's like, then it sticks with you because it's like, "Oh, dude, what if my friend and his daughter had got run over?"
Yep.
I mean, it's not any better that this is a person that I don't know, but obviously it hits a little closer to home when it's like, oh, that's where I go, a friend of yours or whatever. So that's why it sticks out in my mind. It was just crazy.
And the fallen officer's name was Andreas Probst. So we'll put his name out there because we want to memorialize him. It's very sad. So obviously these 2 kids are awaiting some kind of trial, some kind of prosecution. One of the kids who has a face tattoo of UNC, which
University of North Carolina?
yeah, which might be a gang affiliated thing. It might be, I don't know. But his name is Jesus Ayala, and he was just found to be incompetent just within the last week. So he is now at Lakes Psychiatric Hospital. But I don't think we delved enough into what being competent or incompetent actually does to a case. Some people think, oh, he's incompetent. A lot of the reactions to this in the last week is, oh, so just because somebody says they're crazy, then they don't have to do any time for it. But Justin, tell me what really happens after somebody's found to be incompetent.
So I think the thing there is that a lot of people confuse competency with insanity because they hear the insanity defense. And when you think incompetent, you're saying they're mentally incompetent at that moment. There are 2 separate things. So insanity is an affirmative defense, and it works for certain crimes. There's very specific criteria. Competency is just the ability to understand what's going on and be able to assist in your defense. Like we have that guy that we finally just got comped after trying to get him comped for months, who I could not have had a meaningful conversation with. I never did. The most words I heard him make in a sentence together, and I'm talking the number of words, not even the quality of them, was probably 7 or 8. I'd ask him questions directly, and he would just kind of shrug. And after speaking to some of his family members, you find out he's severely schizophrenic. And then, does he understand what's going on? If he doesn't understand what's going on, then he can't help me as his defense attorney to defend him. So competency is a very narrow and short-term thing. but it can also occur with juveniles, right? I just comped that 16-year-old who's got charged with attempted murder, right? The one that stabbed the dude down on Fremont, because I'm not sure that as a youth, not for the reasons of mental instability or mental disease or something like that, but as a child, a young kid, 16, not all 16-year-olds are created equal, right? Some of them are way more mature than others. Some of them have a better understanding of consequences of actions than others. Some of them are more responsible than others. So there are many ways to comp somebody, but it's all for the same reason. It's a general lack of understanding of the process and ability to help.
So do you just get out of jail, or that's the question? What happens specifically to this kid, Jesus Ayala, right now?
Not knowing what kind of competency is going to happen kind of changes it for me, because if it's competency for mental issues and he's been certified as an adult, then he's going to go up. They're going to treat him at Lakes or Stein or wherever.
He's at Lakes.
Okay, but they probably have a children's version, right? Because he's under 18, so they can't.
He's under 18.
Okay.
He has been certified. He's being
Sure,
tried
he was certified because of murder.
as an adult. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll send him up there and then they'll get him better, right? However long that takes.
That's the goal, right?
Right, that's the goal.
So let's Lakes isn't just like a fun place. It's a prison. I mean, it's maximum security. You're being held inside.
It's a mental hospital, if you want to think about it like that.
You're not let outside. It's a jail/mental hospital.
Correct.
It's not. So he's still being held. He's not just let go.
And it also counts towards their.
Credit for time
served
at the end of the case. Yeah. So this is jail time. Like he's doing. It's different because he goes to treatment as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's gonna meet with doctors. They will assess whatever's wrong with him, and if it's like, I'm assuming most of those, it's gonna be like a chemical imbalance or something like that. I mean, there's so many things, because now you're getting into the realm of what kind of mental health disorder could cause somebody to not be able to understand. You've got our client who's severely schizophrenic. You could have somebody who's, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something else that can have serious mental effects. Maybe some kind of very intense manic bipolar, something of that nature. So each one of those is going to require different things. Or maybe it's just that he's got something that can require a little bit less invasive treatment, like I can't imagine somebody would only need therapy and going to get comped, right? Like the doctors, and I've been critical of the Dusky standard several times. They almost seem to be trying to keep people in the criminal justice system without competency, because the bar is so low to be competent. Like I had to try for months with this guy. I think I had him see 7 doctors, and 5 of them said he was competent, and he couldn't even put a sentence together. So I can't tell you what they're going to do. I just know that the way it usually is going to work is that he will get some sort of treatment.
So it's not a get out of jail free card. He's gonna, as soon as he's found competent, he goes right back into the justice system to be pushed forward to trial. And this seems like a case that they're gonna want to push towards trial to get an adequate amount of justice for, what happened to Andreas Probst. So,
well, it'll be a situation where, I mean, think about it from the prosecutor's perspective. They've got it on video.
Yes,
it's a slam I'm pretty sure that they. Like you can see.
Yes.
And
they laugh about it.
They laugh about it. And then they were arrested later in that same vehicle, I believe. Or they stole another vehicle but were arrested like within the chain. So as far as prosecution goes, it's a slam dunk. So the prosecution will offer something, right?
Pretty near to first degree,
whatever. But it's a question whether or not the defense wants to take it. And at that point, I mean, some defendants can see the benefit of getting 90% of what they could get if they went to trial. Other ones are like, basically, for lack of a better way to put it, screw it. What difference does it make?
I'm losing anyway.
If I go to trial, maybe I get somebody on there who will believe whatever crazy story I say on these slam dunk cases. But then if not, I'm basically in the same position I am right now. So what's the point? What am I going to lose? And I can't say that that's a bad way of thinking. I mean, it makes sense. So that's the prosecutor's job at that point, is to figure out what they need to do to get justice done, while at the same time trying to alleviate the stress and strain on the families, because there's people that are going to have to come and testify about that person who was killed.
Yes. Which is just sad.
And it's not going to be good for anybody. And the family of the victim still has an opportunity to present their loss at the time of sentencing. So it's not like by avoiding a trial you deprive a witness of anything. They still have the opportunity to speak to the judge, who is ultimately the one in control of sentencing. And that's kind of one of the finer points that I think when people say, "Oh, you're just offering them a deal. They're not getting, the family isn't getting what they deserve. They're not getting their day." They are. It just happens in a different way with some certainty and a lot less strain. Because when
you don't know how stressful the trial is till you're going through it either.
When they speak to a judge, it's just a narrative. They get up there and just speak their piece, and the judge will say thank you, and they get to sit down. Whereas at a trial, they're going to get cross-examined. And if you get the wrong defense attorney on the other side who, their style is maybe lacking some compassion or tact, that can be a bad day.
Yep.
So.
Oh, man. Some crazy people out there. There was another one recently. This happened right near my high school. There was a 41-year-old man who was arrested for shooting his wife and his stepson. And he got on the phone and said that they were trying to attack him, even though there wasn't much evidence that they were. So we see these in the news all the time of these just crazy stories and things that really just make you scratch your head as to wonder what's really going on in somebody's head. So,
well, sometimes the answer is not a lot.
Maybe that's the answer.
That's the long and short of it. It's like we were talking. Who was it we were talking to about that gal that was getting into a verbal altercation in a drive-through?
Yeah.
And then somebody starts filming it, and so what is her response? Like, I'm yelling at you about something in a drive-through because we have an issue. Austin starts to film me, and he points his camera right at me, and then
people feel threatened by that.
No, what she did is she takes her car, drives it right into him.
This was your friend who works in the jail.
Oh yeah, we were talking to Court.
So we get some
Shout
stories
out,
about
Courtney,
people in jail.
She's
and why they're there.
She's the most ankle-breakingest jiu-jitsu practitioner that I know that's a female. Protect your legs, gentlemen. Yeah, that's a nutty story. Like, we talked about it yesterday. It's like, what could cause me to want to do that? I don't know.
Have more love in your heart, people.
Have less hate. You don't even need to have more love. Just also have more compassion and love for yourself. That you don't want to throw your life away over something so stupid.
And it's taking yourself so seriously and being threatened by somebody recording you.
Yeah. Like, ego is not even remotely in check.
Yeah.
But that also gets me back to the point that, like, when you talk about things like that, and it seems so out of the realm of normalcy that I can't truly understand it. And you know me, man. I've talked several times about how there are a lot of crimes that I get, right? I have been, and I'll be honest, I've been mad enough to want to kill somebody. Did I do it? No. Because I have that self-preservation and that control to know that this moment is not the rest of my life, and it's probably not that serious. They weren't threatening me. Did they piss me off to the point that I wanted to, like, do violence or punch them or something? Sure. We're all like that on some level. Have I been hungry enough to want to steal? Yeah, I was broke in college, bro. However, I don't understand this kind of reaction. It just doesn't make sense to me. So they have to have some kind of mental infirmity, some kind of issue. Maybe it's drugs. Maybe it's a moment of lack of clarity. I don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens with this crazy shooting case. Maybe these things come out in the news, and sometimes you don't hear anything else.
Yeah, it could be it. Well, then we've talked about this too. The next best story is going to come along.
There is the next best story.
Always going to be some crazy thing that happens.
All right, I have a story to tell you, Justin. Speaking of insanity, craziness, something.
Okay. You saved it there. I was like, oh, well, there goes your segue for the day.
In the year 1994, there was a woman in the state of South Carolina.
That was the year you were born, wasn't it?
No. It's named Susan Smith. Okay? Susan Smith. This was a famous story back in 1994.
Okay.
And she came back into the news recently. So I'll tell you this about this case, which is just an insane case. Susan's two children were missing one day suddenly.
Is this the gal? No, this wouldn't be the gal that drove him into the lake, is it?
Yes. You know this story.
Well, I remember a story from being a little kid, and they couldn't find him, and
Yeah, so for 9 days, she was on the news.
Where are my children?
Saying, a black man stole my car with my children inside. Specifically, that's what she said. She said a black man did this.
Obviously.
For 9 days, she did that. And if you've ever lived somewhere in the South where there's still a lot of race relation issues.
There's tension. My buddy Josh is from there, and he's mixed, and he described it to me a lot about South Carolina.
And this is in the boonies. This isn't in the big city, of South Carolina. This is kind of in the boonies.
Does South Carolina have a big city?
Yeah, Columbia and Charleston are bigger. Myrtle Beach
Isn't that
is
where
bigger.
you went for your mission?
I was in North Carolina,
Okay.
Charlotte, but there's some.
Are they literally the north one? Is it on the top?
Yes, for the most part.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Geographically, of course.
this is in the boonies of South Carolina in 1994, and blaming a black man for your problems. Even when it came out afterwards, and she finally admitted that she had parked by a lake, took the emergency brake off.
How old were the kids? They were little.
They were
They're in
like
the car
18
seats or
months and like 3 years old, something like that. She let the car roll into the lake, and these two young kids, I think they eventually found the bodies in the car, but of course they had passed. Just a very insane, sad story.
Like that makes my stomach hurt, dude.
It does.
I have a 9.5-month-old, and
How could you want to do that to a
don't
baby?
know, dude.
Even though he is up all night and upsets you.
yeah, he sucks sometimes. I've said I don't like babies. I love my son, but babies, dude, they suck. However, I don't even like it. Like when we go to the doctor and they have to like check his bloods, they give him a little prick on the heel.
What are you doing that?
Dude, I had to take him to urgent care, and she went to take a temperature on him, and he started crying, and I was like, no, you're not doing that again. You're going to use his forehead. And she's like, and I said, we're not doing it. Like, cause he cried real tears. And in my, like that brain, the lizard brain, my amygdala said, harm her. Gets back to that thing I was saying.
We live in a society.
I see my son cry because you did something to him, and I want to break your arms. I didn't do it though, because I know it's not right. I just said, hey.
And because she's trying to take his temperature the best way possible. Who cares about that minor detail?
I don't care, dude. He didn't like it. We're not doing that.
All right, so let's
Back to this.
You
Don't
knew
hurt
the
your kids.
story.
I
1994.
barely. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
she let her car go into the lake. A question I had in a video that I sent Austin that we should put up is, when is it okay to make jokes about it? Because one of my favorite TV shows is Arrested Development, and the mom hates her kids in the show, and she's watching this on the news, and it's
like a
it's
light
talking
bulb.
about, and she said, "Good for her."
Claiming she could take it no more, the young mother released the emergency brake, allowing her car to roll backwards into the nearby lake.
Good for her.
Oh my God.
So when is it okay for Lucille Bluth
Doesn't
to make a joke about saying, "Oh no, that's okay"?
South Park or somebody talks about this? One of those shows, and they said it was like there's a certain number of years. There's a show that went
talks about how many years?
yeah, it's like 11 and a half years or something.
There are so many 9/11 jokes now, and it's been 23 years.
They said that.
And
wouldn't
now,
forget.
Now the jokes are coming. Okay, so fast forward on. Well, let's talk about Susan Smith a little bit, because her father had committed suicide, or how do we say that nowadays?
Unalived himself.
Unalived himself, whatever it is.
To reference that, South Park said it's 22.3 years.
22.3 years.
9/11 will officially be funny 12/29/2023.
I mean, people started making a lot of jokes about 9/11 recently, so maybe they watched that South Park episode.
11:10 p.m.
Oh gosh.
12/29/2023 is when it was.
That's brilliant. I love South Park. It's so good.
So this was 1994.
We're good.
You wanna
wanna
Arrested Development jokes were a little early, I think. They came out in the early 2000s. No bueno, Arrested Development.
Yeah. Bad guys.
Should not kill your kids. I think we can all agree with that. Please don't.
Don't kill any 3-year-old or 18-month-old.
Susan Smith's dad had unalived himself when she was very young. Susan Smith had attempted to unalive herself as well when she was a teenager. And her reasoning for doing this was she wanted to get the attention of somebody who lived in the area who was very rich. And so that's why she made up this story about, a black man stealing her kids so that she could, marry somebody and become rich. She seemed insane, but somehow was competent to stand for trial. They tried to assert an insanity defense and bring doctors for it. Yeah. Apparently it didn't work. I don't know much about the trial because we're focusing on things that happened post-trial.
Sure.
Convicted in the late 90s. In 2000, she was charged, and correctional officers were charged for having sex with her while she was in custody.
Correction officers?
Two of them were convicted for
The
this.
same time?
Yes. Well, I don't think it's all together. There were two that were convicted about two a year apart. So this is in 2000.
Christ.
She had the possibility of parole in November of this year. Okay.
Denied because she wouldn't stop.
Well,
banging
it's November
COs.
of this year.
Oh, it's not November yet. Duh.
But just last week, it came out that she has been in contact with some movie producers about potentially making a movie about her life. And so she is now
Let me
being,
guess. Netflix.
I don't know. She's now being charged with new crimes because she has talked to these movie producers who were going to talk to, father of the children, some other people, and she has no contact orders even while she's in prison. And there's some rules about them not being able to contact,
Sure.
even certain people. She's had some drugs in jail as well, or in prison as well.
Drugs like illegal ones?
Yeah, like marijuana and stuff while she's in prison. So she's had some holds, had some holds. So the most recent thing that came out this week is that she's in trouble and she's being charged with speaking with a filmmaker, which...
That's weird because that's going to get into some First Amendment issues.
Yes. So that's why it became super interesting to me is where is the line on this? How does this become a crime? Is it because... And when we see these news articles, not too much detail, so we don't really know unless we, go pull up these cases. But she's being investigated. Not sure if she's been, formally, hey, here's a criminal complaint. But is it that there's a contact going on? Like I'm instructing this person to contact
that depends.
on my behalf these other people, these people that I shouldn't be contacting.
Because the no contact orders we usually get are... it's no direct or indirect contact. But if you come to me and say, hey, I want to do a film about your life, tell me what happened, which there have been many movies made about people in jail. She tells you, and then you go and talk to the dad or whoever who you're not supposed to talk to. I didn't tell you to do it, and you're a journalist. You're allowed to call them and ask them a question. And or a movie maker or whatever, and they say pound sand, okay, you got to leave. But if not, I don't know, man. That's a really sticky situation. I've never been involved in anything like that, nor do I want to, because it sounds extremely complicated and difficult.
Yeah, she got transported prisons after the correctional officer mishap, but apparently South Carolina
Mishap. They tripped and fell.
South Carolina
In a pile.
Department of Corrections policy is that inmates are not allowed to do interviews on the telephone or in person while in custody, which I think that sounds First Amendment, restrictive. Yes, yeah. Because freedom of press and my freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's limitations on your freedom to associate or whatever while you're in prison. Yes. There's a government purpose.
Well, theoretically, you could probably get a visit from anybody.
Yeah, I don't know. So there's some things there that aren't clear yet in these reports, but it's an interesting kind of thing to look at as to why can't an inmate be talking, to people? Why can't they? And then us as these idiots that make her famous and make her rich, this deplorable human being who killed her children, want to then consume the stories that, somebody's going to pay her to produce. So we get exactly what we should, I guess.
Yes.
So thank you, South Carolina. Like I said, the worst Carolina. I watched another trial in the state of South Carolina. That was very recent.
I don't like North Carolina.
That I told you. I know why you don't. So I watched another trial from a guy named Bud Ackerman, who's in this kind of same area, just one county over in South Carolina, in kind of this nothingness in kind of northwest South Carolina. So Bud Ackerman was married to his wife, Meredith Haney, and they had issues. So they were separating. Okay. So they had not lived together for a while, and Meredith had found a new lover. The divorce was not quite finalized
yet. She got a new boyfriend.
Yet.
Okay.
She got a new boyfriend, and Bud, sounds like Bud got jealous, and he had a fight with this other guy, and they ended up meeting up, and Bud ran over the other guy, and he ended up dying.
Did the other guy do something that was rising to the level of threatening Bud with deadly force?
No, not at all. The whole defense of this case was that Bud didn't know that he was there. It was dark, and so he accidentally ran him over.
Okay. That's all you got. You got to do what you got to do, man.
So,
And I mean that when I say you got to do what you got to do, I mean like you got to lodge a defense. If that's all you got, it's like, hey, I didn't mean to do it.
I mentioned this case because the South Carolina connection. It's the one that popped up on on my murder YouTube.
Your informative murder porn.
My murder trial YouTube. It's trial, so it's interesting to watch. Interestingly enough, Bud hired a really old attorney, a really old guy who got hospitalized during their first round of trial. So they had a mistrial, and so they had to come back for
hung
trial.
Jury or mistrial?
No, mistrial because the attorney couldn't participate because he was in the hospital. So let's define mistrial, because some people think mistrial means something bad happened. It's not always that something bad happened. Mistrial could mean a number of things. It just means a trial started, and for whatever reason, it can't be completed to the point it needs to get to. So there could be some bad action there. There could be somebody that doesn't follow an order or does something or presents something not in the evidence to the jury and allows the jury to hear it, and the jury's view is going to be so tainted they couldn't forget what was presented to them. And so it's just not going to be able to have an impartial jury. It could be in this case where somebody gets sick, goes to the hospital. If you have a party or an attorney who has a family member pass away or in the hospital and they have to leave because of that, that could cause a mistrial. So mistrial doesn't always mean something bad, I guess I wanted to point out.
Yeah, it could just be random life stuff that sucks.
Yeah, or it could be from a hung jury, a jury that doesn't come to an agreement after heavily attempting to, and hey, we have 4 guilties, 4 not guilties, whatever it is.
Or somebody doing something, somebody being an attorney, doing something impermissible.
Yes. So an attorney mentioning a piece of evidence that had already been excluded,
Or
that they
saying,
know is excluded.
what would you do if you were this person?
Or they break the golden rule. That could be a possible way of causing a mistrial. So there's a mistrial there. Justin's so young, he would never have these heart issues, so you can hire him to do your trial, right?
Always in good health.
Never a mistrial.
I make sure to eat all my vitamins and drink water every day. I'm properly hydrated.
Perfect. But the defense, even when you have people who are innocent until proven guilty, you have a former lover running over a current lover of a woman.
Former husband running over current boyfriend.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, current husband, but
Oh, okay. Never mind.
still current
Then
husband.
he ought to relax. The other guy should calm down. Who cares? Move on, dude.
It just feels like
Tell me I'm wrong, Austin. You laugh at me, but come on. People break up. They get divorced. It's fine.
at that point, it doesn't feel like, hey, you're innocent until proven and guilty. It's, hey, okay, you did this, but give me a good story as to why, what excuses you from having done this. I didn't see him because it was dark. Not quite the testimony that, you're hoping for. He was found guilty, so, he's going to be held for those actions of doing that. That's insane. I loved watching the prosecutor in this because he was an older gentleman, and I guess he's pretty big in South Carolina. Because
Physically?
No, just a good trial attorney who went there to do this trial in this county. He had done the Murdaugh trial. I don't know if you know Murdaugh. His
hobby was murder.
There was a Netflix special, and Murdaugh was an attorney.
Spell it.
Murdaugh. There was a Netflix special about this guy.
Alex Murdaugh.
Yes.
Okay.
He had protected his son who had done a boating accident, and his son kind of got out of trouble, and then he ended up killing his wife and son. The dad did.
Wait, he protected them and then he
Yes.
murdered them.
Yes.
Oh,
Maybe you know
Dick
a little bit about this.
Harpootudlin. Of course, I heard of him. I'm gonna spell it because I'm gonna screw it up. Where'd it go?
Anyway, we should maybe find some clips of this prosecutor whose name is John Meters, something
Man,
like that.
I love their names. Okay, so
And he
hold on. Let me spell his name. Dick. You can all spell that. Harpootlian. Harpootlian.
Who's that?
That's the defense attorney.
The
investigation was heavily criticized by Murdaugh's defense attorney, Dick Harpootlian. Harpootlian.
Wow.
That's what it sounds like.
We're getting into it.
Sorry.
I'm just talking about this good old like country boy who he was on the prosecution team. He had his southern drawl. This is a murder.
Murder.
He ran him over on purpose.
His
scorned lover.
His hobby was murder.
He just had all these little like
Adam
things.
Sandler. The Adam Sandler tapes. His hobby was murder. Nothing? Whatever. Anyway, continue.
To be on the side of the road and claim you're shot, and when you're in the ambulance, and go watch this if you need to, and you're talking to the officer in the ambulance.
That's it.
My squirrel brain's not helping us.
I
today.
just love the
Sorry.
prosecutor. That's all I was saying.
We can do that. We can sound folksy, and I can smash up the twang a bit for our next trial, which starts tomorrow. Tune in, ladies and gentlemen.
Not going to be on TV. Not going to be on court TV.
Probably not. Not that cool.
No.
Not a great case. In the sense,
We film it. We just.
I mean, you can do whatever you want if they let you. No, when I say not a great case, meaning my involvement's not super big. I'm just local counsel. But sometimes attorneys in other states reach out to me when they need somebody to stand there and look dumb.
Absolutely handsome is what you mean.
I believe I've been described once or twice as guapo.
Sure.
That's Spanish for damn good looking.
All right. So we have a lot of cases. I want to talk about some cases that take a long time. And very recently in our practice, DUI cases have been taking a long time and they're hanging over
You
people's
talking
heads.
about that one in Henderson?
Well, there's a few in Henderson.
Well, that one, it's getting to a year, which is the statute of limitations, so it's about to get dismissed.
So here in Nevada, the statute of limitations on DUI cases is 1 year, and it's 1 year from when they get you or when you did it. And on DUIs, they have to get you when you did it. So it's got to be the date that it happened, okay? They get 1 year by which they can file a criminal complaint. And the prosecution office waits until they have the sufficient evidence. And one thing that they really need is to have tested your blood.
Sorry, I laughed at that because it was funny. I didn't know that we were telling jokes today.
What's the joke?
They wait till they have sufficient evidence to charge you.
Well, on DUIs,
LOL.
on DUIs, they wait for the blood to come back and a confirmation of that blood alcohol content level.
Or drug.
And that it's over the legal limit, which in Nevada, BAC on alcohol is 0.08. And that is different in different states.
I think it's for adults, it can be lower than that, but it has to be at least 0.08. It used to be 0.10 in some places, but it can't be anymore, I don't think.
Okay. So 0.08 in the state of Nevada. And
Kansas.
the city of Henderson takes forever to test these bloods. They have a backup. Supposedly there's a new lab that they're working on. I don't know. But we do have one that happened last
October.
October.
Right around Halloween.
And we have a status check to see if the complaint's filed because they still haven't tested the dang blood.
And if it's, no, what it is they tested it and they didn't find what they wanted. That's what happened.
We don't know what it is. And,
I know what it
is. And if they don't file a complaint,
good.
Then we're not entitled to evidence. So it's just hanging over somebody's head.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get blamed for that. And
This guy's been cool though.
I don't think we get blamed necessarily, but we do have to explain the situation that a complaint hasn't been filed. Well, is there something you can do? No, there is absolutely nothing you can do.
There is something I can do. I can tell you not to get arrested in Henderson.
Don't get arrested in Henderson.
Which is the advice I give to people.
Don't get another charge anywhere.
Henderson Muni, just stay out of it.
Don't drive drunk, I guess, is one thing.
This guy wasn't.
Okay. Well, that's good general advice, though. Don't drive drunk.
Don't drive drunk. Yeah, drunk. Blah, blah.
Or with...
Don't be drunk on a podcast. Kidding. I don't drink.
Okay. So sometimes these cases take forever. because of the prosecution, and we try to push them
Or
forward.
lack thereof.
Or lack of prosecution,
Hey.
which can be good for you. You could get a case dismissed for lack of prosecution.
Correct.
So we have to wait for this dumb lab to come back and give us the evidence or hide the evidence or whatever you're saying it is. I don't know. Or lie about the evidence. But
Dude,
we've had a ton of these.
I'm a defense attorney.
We've had a ton of these that we're waiting for. So,
Now, every time they're tangling my client's rights, Your Honor.
All right, we had a listener question.
I'm going to say that next time. I will. I'll say it in court.
We should.
I'll film it.
We should sometime.
I will.
Maybe on that motion you just filed on the dismissal.
Oh, that motion to dismiss, where if we get it dismissed, I'm going to have a ton to say. Actually, you know what? I can't right now. But if we don't get it dismissed after the trial, I'm going to have a ton to say.
Yep. All right. Our listener question this week came from our listener and former guest, Rachel, who was on the jury.
juror?
Yeah.
I remember her.
She wanted us to go over the Nevada ballot questions. So some states sometimes have ballot questions that are put, and it's statewide, and it's the purest form of democracy. Should we change this law?
It should be.
Should we change this law or not? So a lot of these have to do with Nevada's constitution. I saw a study that said over 50% of people did not know whether their state had a constitution or not. So in Nevada,
That's cute.
on top of the U.S. Constitution that we're bound by,
Which is the floor
which is
when
the
you're talking
floor,
about rights. Like you can't
you
drop
can't-
the rights below that. That's the point. Like a state can give you more rights than the U.S. Constitution does, but they can't give you less. Well, they're not supposed to.
So many states, if not all, have state constitutions,
Yes.
which also, I guess it's a preventative measure. Hey, in case the United States ever goes kaput or whatever, you still have your state constitutional rights. Most of them mirror the rights found in the U.S. Constitution, but there are things that are different as well. So most people don't even know you have a state constitution, but there is a state constitution in Nevada, and many of these are about amending the state constitution.
That information and information like it is concealed in books. Check them out. They're great.
Yes, there's Google Nevada Constitution.
Get off your tick for 4 minutes and read a book.
Okay. All right.
You can even use, Kindle. You could read it on your computer if you can't get away from a bright screen. Or your phone. Yeah, Austin brings up a good point. I got a little computer right here.
Wow.
Made in China.
Are you saying that Taiwan is China?
No,
Have you taken that stance?
absolutely not.
I think all Apple products are made in Taiwan, actually.
No, I thought it was actually mainland
I
China.
don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's mainland China. I know that the microchips are Taiwan. That's like the premier. Which, if anybody's listening in the government, bring those dudes over here, make our own microchip factories. Income stream.
Wow.
Whoa,
New thought.
look out for me. All right, number one.
So number one is about the Nevada system of higher education. Should the power remain with the Board of Regents, or should it go to the legislature, Nevada legislature? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you my opinion on any of them. I'm just going to explain them. You think that the legislature knows what they're doing, but really, they're just a ton of guys who are doing this part-time, guys and gals who are doing this part-time that don't really have time to look over all the statutes.
That's
and
the
this
real
is another
problem.
thing on their plate.
That's
so
the
I'd
real-
be concerned about voting yes. But
I just think the issue is that they sometimes get, maybe this one isn't necessarily like this, but sometimes they get like omnibus bills that are 3,000 pages long and they get it an hour before they're supposed to vote.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Okay. I'm not freaking Johnny Five, right? I can't just brrr. Short Circuit reference. Do you remember that one? Great movie. Your kid will love it.
And then it's gonna be on the judges sometimes to
Yeah.
determine these things
Yeah.
in a rush. And so it's on lawyers. Hey, you're keeping us in business if you keep changing laws because nobody understands them. And guess what? We're going to argue about what they mean.
Great.
And if it benefits you, you're going to be for it. If it benefits you the other way, you're going to be against
Yes.
it. So
So if this one passes, it says becomes law in 2024.
yeah,
That means that the people get to educate themselves and decide what's going to happen.
they should. And you get a sample ballot, which has voices for and against in there. So read through this one. I don't know if I have an opinion on this one anyway. It seems like it's all.
I need to do more
a mess.
research. I don't know the answer to that one yet.
So number 2 is going to try to amend our state constitution instead of using the word insane to those with high levels of mental illness and amending it to say blind to blind or visually impaired for just making sure that there are.
Wait. It's taking out the word insane and replacing it with blind or visually impaired?
No. That's not what I said. Insane goes to people with high levels of mental illness.
Oh, okay.
So
okay,
not
sorry.
just the word insane.
Right.
And these are for like certain government programs and benefits.
Sure, like Medicare or something like
And blind going to blind or visually impaired.
that. Medicaid.
And so there's certain it's trying to update the language, which
Right.
is
That's fair.
fine. I don't think that there's any problem there. So
Well, it seems it's broader, right? Especially if you
It is
look
broader.
at it's talking like we were earlier about insanity versus competency.
Yes.
There's a legal definition of that, right?
Yeah.
And part of the problem that makes this a lot more confusing as well is that, like, if you look at a particular code section, you'll have a definition section, and sometimes they're not in there. Okay, great. So then you go to the next level up, and if it doesn't have it, where do you go? Well, insanity is defined 946 times, and I made that number up, in the Nevada revised statutes or whatever.
or Black's Law Dictionary.
Which
is the
one
default.
do you use? I don't know. But high level of mental illness, getting a little bit better about our
Sure.
language. So not terrible.
And this is trying to be more inclusive or update language, you
Yep,
know.
which is
so
fair.
whatever. That one seems fine. Another thing they changed in there is they changed like the word institutions to something else.
like
that was interesting.
Like health facilities or something.
Yeah, it was
Whatever.
a more broad word.
When was the last time they fixed this? Because if you can
this
look
is
at what,
old,
if you
yeah.
can look at what year they did this versus
This
what
is-
year they're trying to do it now, that'll give you all the information you need.
This is old.
Send them down to the infirmary.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to change much. I don't
Give him
think it'll change much.
some cold water therapy and some shock treatment.
Number 3 is the big one.
Not funny. They used to do that. It's bad.
Number 3 is the big one people are talking about.
I've seen signs for that.
There's a lot for and against for number 3.
Sure.
And
Are we allowed to tell our personal opinions on this one?
I'll tell my personal opinion on this one because we do not have open primaries. We have closed primaries. You have to be a Republican to vote in the Republican primary. You have to be a Democrat to vote in the Democrat primary. I am neither of those parties. Justin, you're neither of those parties either. So we are one of the many, third party, whatever, somewhere in the middle. So we are not allowed to vote in primaries. I vote all the time. I'm involved in my local elections. I am educated more than the average person in my local elections.
Wow.
And I would love to vote in the primaries.
I'm gonna need a flex on that one, dude. Yeah, guns, suns out, guns
Yeah,
hidden.
sure. But no, like I
He's
know
educated.
I've lived here a long time. I like to vote. I want my voice to be heard.
Dude, I know I'm playing.
I'm
but
not saying
I'm not,
it
I'm not
should
being
count
serious.
more, but
Like, we're fine.
okay, stop. So question 3 is about open primaries and ranked choice voting.
I love it.
So you'll see in a lot of these primaries or elections that there might be 5 or 6 candidates for one job. And so a person could win by having 21% of the vote
Yes.
or 17% of the vote.
Because
they
the
just
vote gets
had
split
more-
between so many people.
Yeah. So this allows the right people to move up from primaries or the people that, are the good second choice.
Meaning what the people
What
has
the people
chosen.
want as-
When you say the right people with a good
Oh,
second
sorry,
choice. No, I'm just
sorry.
saying, like, let's be clear here. What you're talking, and so for those of you that don't understand what ranked choice voting means, if you have 4 people, and I'm going to use it because it's an easy number, and the candidate got the most votes, got X number of number 1 votes, X number of number 2 votes, number 3 and number 4, because you get to decide. On your whole 4, you say, this is the one that I would pick first, this is second, third, fourth, right? So let's say each one is an inverse, so that if you give them a number 1, they get 4 points, and if they get a number 4, they get 1 point, right? Because it's going up and down. They look at literally the numbers that have the highest pick based on that score rather than the most people voted for this individual out of this fractured section, right? The selection of people.
The opponents against this are going to say that there are going to be so many more ballots thrown out because people can't figure out ranked choice. You're
People are
they
too
said-
stupid
they said
to
that-
count to 5.
10 times more ballots will get thrown out. And it's like, how many did you throw out before? Like 5? So it'll be 50 out of 1 million? Like,
Actually, it's like 2.9 or 3.2 million or something like that.
yeah, no, but actual voters.
Oh,
Actual voters.
People
in the
that
state.
actually get up and go.
Yeah.
Exercise your rights, folks.
So
They won't be tangled.
I personally love the idea of open primaries.
Yeah, sure.
And it begs the question of if there's something you like in the law, if there's one part of it you don't. Ranked choice, I'm not as like, that's good, I think, but I want the open primary
Sure.
so bad.
Open primary is huge.
Like I want that one more.
The thing I like about it the most is like we have a closed primary, so I can't decide who would be a good choice to lead me on the other party, right?
And I get a vote in the general election for
Sure.
I can vote Republican or Democrat,
Yeah,
you know,
I've
depending
done
on
both.
it. But you're not allowing me because I don't align completely with either party, you know. I don't get to have a say in who they're putting up.
Well, it's also dumb because then we don't get to choose, you know, who's going to end up being the person who's in charge of us, right? And it's like, look, I am this party. Obviously, it probably more aligns with my personal, you know, values and beliefs. However, there's a Democrat that I think is the best for me out of the Democrats, and a Republican who I think is the best for me out of the Republicans. Because it turns out I'm not so entrenched in my own camp that I don't want a good leader if it's not my guy, which is the crazy part. It's like, wait a minute. I can set my house on fire, or I can have a roommate that I didn't necessarily want, but he's okay. I'm not going to burn my house down. Not doing that. That's what they're asking you to do by saying, you know, skip all this crap.
Can I at least pick the roommate even if I'm not the owner of the house? Can I have a say in who the roommate
Sure.
might be?
Why not? I like that.
So we gave our personal opinion there.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
even if there's
I have many opinions.
it begs the question of if the law doesn't exactly do what you want, but it mostly does what you want and it advances something. There's some who are stuck in their head and will say, "Oh no, this is not exactly, you know, how I want it, so I'm going to vote no." And
Makes
change
sense.
will never happen that way.
It
And
is
maybe that's what you want.
87% correct, but I settle for a minimum of 100. So, no. That's dumb.
So number 3, make your own opinion on
Make-
that.
yeah,
If you're
don't-
against ranked choice voting,
That's great.
If you don't want me as an independent to vote in your primary, I guess vote no.
Yeah, I mean, but this gets down to the same thing we've always said. It's just the same thing I tell people going into a jury. Vote with your conscience. If that's not what you like, that's great.
But
Cool.
study it out, please. Look at
definitely
it.
read
Look
about
at it. Read those. You can abstain and not vote on these questions.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me. I don't know if you've seen, and I don't know what the percent jump is. People will vote yes on things because people like to be agreeable. So yes, even no matter what it is, yes always gets a little bump, like by default.
Kind of like the first judge on the judge.
Kind of like the first person.
Why would I bother
Yeah.
to read and actually have to think?
So yes always gets a little bump. They're like, oh yeah, no, change it to make it
that's super
better.
dumb.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, what would be really cool is if they would change the way the ballot looks so it's not like this, and they literally put them next to each other. We read left to right, so it would probably then transfer to the left, but I don't care. What you could do is every other ballot could swap them. Because then if it's left to right, instead of on top and on bottom, whoever's like, oh, the left one, sure. Every 2 people is going to cancel themselves out. So then it's going to be the people who actually read about it, are going to make the decision. I don't know. I don't come up with great ideas, but I have ideas.
Okay. Well,
Number 4.
we're in a think tank here.
Yeah.
Number 4, the Nevada Constitution is taking out the words slavery and involuntary servitude. They used to be able to be a punishment for crimes, slavery and involuntary servitude. They're taking those out. It might not change anything. We don't know. It would depend on an inmate making a challenge and seeing what happens, but sometimes inmates are in work camps or kind of work programs to work off time, and that can be helpful for them. But I guess I don't think they can ever be compelled to do them, so I don't think this is an issue.
The camps that people can get in are by and large positive, at least from the people that I know that have gone to prison and talked about it. Like, everybody strives to get into camp. It's a way to have something to do every day. You get to go like fire camp. That's the one that I have talked to a couple of clients who have gone up there.
Yeah.
They look forward to it, right? To getting to camp because
seems-
it's better than just being at high desert or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't think this changed, but hey, this isn't a bad change.
Right. I mean,
Taking those out and saying, yeah, you can't have slavery and involuntary servitude.
yeah.
That doesn't change what, like,
And I mean, depending upon, I don't know enough about it. I'm going to need to read this one deeply because when I read that, I was like, wait, what? We got an amendment on that back in the day. It's number 13 and it says you can't do that.
yeah.
Which is a very good thing because slavery as an institution is, you know,
And this
one of the
was
worst things that
specifically
humans have ever
about
done.
slavery and voluntary servitude as it deals with in custody as a punishment for a crime
sure.
kind of thing. So
Yeah.
what,
Okay.
what that is. Number 5 is very simple.
Proposes the exemption of child and adult diapers from certain taxes.
Yes. So food is not taxed in Nevada.
What?
Non-prepared food is not taxed in the state of Nevada.
Wait, so if I go and buy blueberries, it's not taxed?
Nope.
Really?
Yep.
I never noticed that.
So some receipts you can see what's taxed and not taxed.
Okay.
Prepared food is taxed. So if you go fast food, that's taxed.
What if I buy a rotisserie chicken from Costco?
I don't.
That's $4.99.
I don't know
Like, those are
rotisserie
great.
chicken, whether it's, and this, I mean, this kind of goes
it is
into
prepared.
what food stamps are for too, is
EBT?
prepared versus non-prepared food.
Yeah, there's rules on whether it can't be hot. So like you could buy, when I worked at Quick Trip in college, you could buy a bomb burrito off of there, but you couldn't then go to Taco Bell across the street and buy a grilled cheese burrito. Shout out, they're delicious. Can't eat them right now, but they're great.
So this is,
Chicken is taxed.
Huh?
Rotisserie chicken is taxed.
Okay, well, it makes sense. I mean, it is prepared.
yeah, so there's
Anyway.
a distinction there.
So-
Recently in Nevada, they added female hygiene products to not be taxed.
It's something that's so basic that it shouldn't be taxed.
That's the argument.
And necessary, we'll call it a necessity.
And necessity and something that they, women don't ask for. Like they don't want to be going through their cycles. It just happens to them.
And
right?
we don't ask to eat, and children don't ask to have to make a poo.
These are basic human necessity kind of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
So does that mean that they should, and I'm going into the rabbit hole a little bit, but I promise I'll get right out of it. Does that mean that we should not tax things like toilet paper?
I don't know. You don't have to use toilet
I got
paper.
a great idea. Whoever in the legislature is watching this, what the fuck?
You could take a shower after. Bidet. Come on.
He's an animal. I got a great idea. No more taxes.
Hear me out.
Hear me out. Taxation = theft.
So
just don't.
however you feel about diapers, whether they should be taxed or not, I have no kids in diapers anymore, and now they're going to take taxes away from them. But I'll be in diapers soon, I'm sure.
I hope so. You keep talking reckless, I'll help you.
Number 6 and 7 are super interesting and kind of
But
shoes on the opposite foot.
Before we get into it, let's talk about the change here. Everything up to this point
Is immediate law.
is immediate. These
Will go
placed
to the
on the
next
general
election.
election ballot in 2026. So this is the question whether it's good enough to get it to the ballot.
Yeah.
Which is dumb because it's already on the ballot.
It's on a ballot that's a presidential election too when people are going to show up.
There's going to be more people that are there, and the reason that they're doing this is because of what the substance of each one of them is. It's super irritating because it's so entrenched in politics on left or right or whatever that they're going to try and do what they can to finagle this to where I'm assuming the left doesn't want the right thing to get passed or not passed, and vice versa. And that's why this is the way it is. But it's super frustrating, and it's also transparent that that's why they're trying to do it this way.
So I pointed out to you earlier that these two issues are kind of the opposites of each other. It's abortion and voter ID.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, let's take them one at a time. Otherwise, they're going to get confusing.
Okay.
Do number 6.
Abortion first. So Nevada is trying to add to its constitution, or this is a proposal that Nevada adds to its constitution in light of recent developments, that abortion become a right under the Constitution until the time of viability.
So it's making
of
it an
the
individual
fetus.
right
Yeah.
for a woman.
So it's to
choose.
I guess any pregnant person. I guess now. I don't know how they're wording it, but
Pregnant person.
yeah, I don't know how they propose the language in here. But
Austin, are you with? That's what that is. I didn't know you were preg, dude. Congratulations, Vanessa.
Pergonante.
Oh, it's a chalupa. Vanessa, shout out. Keep making them chalupas and keep delivering them to Austin.
So, this is a vote to put on the next election in 2026, whether or not we are going to be voting on abortion. So it has to have over
Sure.
50% to then go to the next election to then have over 50%. So an interesting one. I am going to guess it's going to pass.
I would think so. It passed in Kansas. They did the same thing, but theirs was direct. It was like as if this had been 1 through 5, right after Roe.
Yeah, and we'll say, I mean, Nevada already has legal abortions up to the age of viability.
Right, but it's
So
not,
this is putting it in the Constitution.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to protect it, given a law change in a different area.
So if anything, if there is a congressional ban on it, I mean that would be everywhere. That's the thought. I don't.
That's going to get into such a stupid situation.
Yes.
If you ban it federally, and then you've got all these states that are one way or the other, it doesn't matter. It seems that every state that has an opinion on this particular issue, it's real serious.
And this is why I think it's kind of similar to the next one, is that most Republicans, when you take polls, say, yes, we are okay with some version of abortion, you know, whether it is in limited circumstances or blanketly until a certain point.
Yeah, and
most Republicans say that, and yet the Republican leaders don't follow what the voice of their people even is.
Wait a minute. You mean politicians aren't doing what their constituents actually want?
Never what all their constituents want to do, because there's some on the other side, but even their base, you know, they'll listen to a very small portion of their base.
Who got the money? That's who I listen to.
So shoe on the other foot here, we have voter ID laws, which this is just a law that could go on the 2026 again, just get passed over.
To say
if
that
it
you
passes,
need an ID to vote?
that says you would need an ID to vote. And so in the polls of Democrats, when this is, you know, Democrats trying to shoot this one down, most Democrats believe that that's reasonable.
Yeah.
And would vote yes for that to allow IDs to vote. So these are kind of, to me, interesting that these are the two issues up. And so this is a law that could change to allow IDs. You have to have your ID. Require an ID to present to vote. And so on its face,
seems reasonable.
On its face, some people say, you know, what's wrong with that? There is a minor group of people.
Please say what they think so I can say what I think of that.
No, I'm not going to say. There's a minor group of people who thinks that this could affect the disadvantaged or people who live in rural areas who don't have as easy access to get IDs.
Sure.
So if you live in the middle of nowhere and it would take you 4 hours to get to your county seat to go apply for an ID.
Those people that live in southeast Kansas, man, they're too dumb to get IDs. It's too far for them to trek in their covered wagon.
That's the argument. So
that's dumb and it's racist most of the time.
There are certainly people who don't have IDs who do want to vote. There are, but it is a very, 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 very small percentage of people.
Sure.
I don't even know how many it is quantified.
Quantified means counted.
That really are these people who don't have IDs that want to vote.
I don't know, but we talked about it earlier and we both agreed that the easy solution to this is to make and give out a voter ID, like a federal voter ID that covers you in all your elections, that has like the same little chip in your debit card or like a CAT card in the military, how you can plug it in. It's going to know exactly who you are, or you mail it in and they'll mail it back, whatever. I don't like taxes. I've been very upfront about that.
And you don't like government tracking either, and knowing your name.
Don't like government tracking. I do like at TSA, I move to the side for their stupid little camera. You're not putting my face on that. I don't care. You don't need it. However, if they wanted to give something like that to say that I need to be me to vote and they need to be able to verify that, I get it. I think that is good enough, and I would support a 0.001% tax increase to pay for that on myself. That's all it would take. There's 330 million of us. Give me a break.
And how many people don't have IDs that vote? I really don't know
After
what
my
the
solution,
percentage.
none of them, because we'd all have it.
And the question...
Paid for by Austin.
Also, the question is, what does this fix? Who is voting without an ID?
You know what this fixes? It fixes people arguing about stupid shit that doesn't matter when we have very real fucking problems in our country. I'm sorry for cursing, Hannah. That's what it fixes. It fixes, voter ID and abortion when, who gives a shit? Our economy's in the crapper and interest rates are still astronomically high and first-time home buyers fisted. We have real problems.
Wow. You can say You can say that.
You can't buy a house right now, can you? No. Why not?
Even though I make more than the median average, like the average of the annual income, I still don't. I can't afford it.
Yeah, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
Even though the place you pay rent is less than or equal to what your mortgage would be, but you can't afford it.
Right.
And you haven't missed a rent payment in 5 years. You know how I know? Because you're not homeless. Crazy.
Lives with his parents. Not a good example. But there are many examples.
That are exactly the way I said.
Austin's not the exact
So
example.
quit being cantankerous. All right, guys. These
Let's
are
be
the
fair.
rights. They have been tangled. We will untangle them for you next week. Please tune in. Subscribe. I don't fucking know, dude. I'm just saying stuff. And now that I've been cursing, I'm on a roll. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Updude us.
Bye.
Welcome to the home office again. We have the Greenville Drive, Greenville, South Carolina. They are normally the Greenville Drive, but they take on the Ranas de Rio or the River Frogs. So cool little hat, baseball, and some bats that turn into a frog. So that's the hat for today. Celebrating kind of the area of a couple things we talked about, South Carolina, kind of in the northwest part of South Carolina. Peace.